DC United. Nobody because they were a bunch of bums. No, I'm just kidding. DC United's most successful period was between 2012 and 2015, with a first place and a second place finish in the East, semifinals and quarterfinals of MLS Cup, US Open Cup win, and 2 trips to the CONCACAF Champions League. So I focused on that time span, which means you're going to hear a lot of controversial picks in this one. Probably the least controversial of them all, Bill Hamid. No question, one of the best, one of the most acrobatic and solid shot stoppers there are. I won't say he's one of the best goalkeepers in the game. We've had this argument already, and he is a great shot stopper, but will let you down when he forgets to focus. But yeah, the saves he makes to keep his team in big games is unreal. And yes, I'm talking about another one that he did to the Red Bull when I think it was Brian White nodded a corner kick across like 4 players. He didn't see it until it was like a yard off the line, and he goes full extension, tips it over the bar. Things like that. My next one, Dwayne De Rosario, played from 2012 to 2015, so he is a part of all the teams that made that list that I just mentioned earlier. 25 and 16 and 68 appearances, but this one is mainly because of the status and the way that he played. Darrow was easily considered one of the best midfielders of his time when he was playing. And after going to Toronto and San Jose, his status enough is to put him on here. But he's a star, and he was a main part of the team. He made everything work that went around him. So he's in there. Bobby Boswell is my next one. Part of the DCU squad from 2013 to 2017, 208 appearances, and he either started or appeared in every game, which meant that he was consistently healthy and consistently good for 200 games. Now, let me throw some numbers in there for you. He had a tackle success rate of 70% over his career, 2.5 interceptions a game, less than a foul per game committed, and 6 clearances a game for 200 games over 5 years. That's crazy even for the game back then when defending was notoriously poor. So again, Boswell is another really underrated defender, and I think he deserves a spot on this mountain. Excuse me. And finally, my last one is Chris Pontius. No questions here. One of the best attackers for DC early in this decade. He had a 12-4 season in 2012 on their way to a second-place finish and a semifinal appearance in MLS Cup. He had a 7-6 year in 2011 before that, 37 and 23 in 182 games for DCU. And for me, it was a toss-up between him and Fabian Espindola. And I think his extended time with the club and higher goal tally just from being there, and from being there for the start of his career instead of being a journeyman like Espindola, gives him the edge. I already know you're going to put Luciano Acosta on here, and I'm going to tell you to stop it right now because Pontius put up better numbers than him and had less games to do it. I'll get the numbers for you while you give me your list, but go ahead and tell me why you have Acosta in your team so I can tell you you're wrong.
You know me so well. Well, you said the same thing about Miggy, where it's not always all about the numbers. So, and of course I'm
You're
gonna
right,
pick.
but Luciano Acosta didn't bring anything else. Go ahead.
He's one of the again. It's probably because I've been following for a less amount of time, but I remember. Of course, I'm gonna remember more of Luciano Acosta at DC United than I do Chris Pontius. Um, I also had Bill Hamid. I also had
Good.
Bobby Boswell,
Good.
and I can't wait for your blood to boil when I pick this one. You think you could guess it?
No, I don't think I can.
No?
I probably can, but I'm not going to. Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Please say Paul Areola.
No, no, I didn't pick Paul Arriola.
I would say if you said Paul Areola, I'm hanging up.
I picked Perry Kitchen.
All right.
Um,
Okay.
he
I'm
played for
okay
them
with
for
that.
like half the decade. He was one of like the first young stars that I remember from MLS going overseas to Europe. And I'm assuming if he I don't remember him playing a ton, but I remember him getting the hype when he was young and at DC, and I think he played during that era when they were successful. And he was a young guy too, so I'm sure. Um, he was still growing while he was playing, even if he wasn't at his best. But I know nowadays he's not nearly the player people expected him to be. But yeah, that was my only other one, other than Lucci also.
I'm okay with that, and I was very torn between putting Darrow in there or putting Espindola back in there because I think Darrow was around too many different places to be like considered a one team Mount Rushmore. But that's just me. So here's my argument against your Lucci pick.
Okay.
He was at DC United from 2016 to 2019, and we'll cut out the 2019 because he didn't play. So 2016 to 2017, 2018. DC got to the knockout round of the playoffs and lost, missed the playoffs, and then lost in the knockout round again. Finished 4th in the East, 11th in the East, 4th in the East. He put up numbers that looked like 18 goals, and 18 goals, doesn't have the assist numbers on Wikipedia right now, but 18 goals in over 90 games. That doesn't do it for me. That doesn't make you a star. And you're right about the play doesn't naturally, or the numbers don't determine the player. But the way that DC United finished their seasons, losing in the first round or not even getting a bye or not even making it, doesn't tell me that he was an impactful player without the stats. Does that make sense?
So I pulled up who scored for DC for Lucci, and
Okay.
he during his time with DC, all over from 2016 to 2019, he had an average rating of a 7 on who scored, which I
Hmm.
feel like is very solid. He had one standout year, and then the other in terms of numbers, he had one standout year in 2018 where he had 10 goals and 15 assists. That was probably his best season, I would say. And that was, I think,
Yeah.
the season, I think right after that when PSG were possibly going for him, right?
I can't believe they didn't get that. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. They
I feel
didn't.
like you have to be a talented player if PSG want you.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing that he's not a talented player. What I'm saying, all right, so I got updated numbers here because I think Wikipedia was off. He had 21 goals and 20 assists, or 25 goals, 29 assists. There we go. In 137 games. So I get that his rating was good. It's where his team finished. His team didn't get past the first round of the playoffs. You can't tell me that's an influential player. Miggy Almiron can make his team go win a game. Lucci couldn't.
Well,
Dwayne De
during how
Rosario
much
can
how
make
much
his
was
team win a game.
Pontius pushing them ahead? Was it all him or was it other people? Was it Bill Hamid? Was it
Chris
Bobby
Pontius was their
Boswell?
leading. So Chris Pontius was their leading goal scorer in excuse me 2012 when they came in second and got to the semifinals of MLS Cup. And he worked next to Espindola when they finished first and got to the quarterfinals of MLS Cup. So they both played more influential roles than Lucio Costa did.
The
Lu-
quarterfinals is what? One win ahead of the knockouts?
Farther than Lucci made it.
If they had a bye, then they won the same amount of games that Lucci won.
Fair, but they still made it farther. Lucci also was the top goal scorer when they finished
I would still argue
11th.
that Pontius had a better team around him than Lucci did.
Also fair. But at the same time, what I'm saying is, if you put Miguel Almiron on the DC United team that Lucci was on, DC United makes playoffs.
Yeah, but they're not going to do anything in the playoffs, and Lucci made the playoffs twice.
Yeah, what I'm saying is he didn't do enough for me to say that he is an impact player because his numbers don't say that he was fantastic. He had one good year. That doesn't do it for me to get on my Mount Rushmore. It just doesn't do it.
I pulled up Pontius on Who Scored also. Who Scored only I think goes back to 2013, so I don't know his stuff
Yeah,
before
that's
that.
why I didn't use who scored.
But on Who Scored for Pontius during his from 2013 to 2015 with DC, he averaged. I mean, I don't have the exact average because he has other seasons that will skew it, but it's looking like it's around like a 6-7, and he had 7 goals and 3 assists during that time. In one season, he played 5 games for them.
Yes, that was when he was on his way out. So when he played for DC
When did he first join DC?
early, it was like early in the decade, but he had 32 and 19 in 152. That's basically the same numbers that Lucci put up.
Uh-huh.
They're the same player, and
Yeah, well then I'm
Lucci could
gonna
have made
pick the
plays.
one that I got to watch play.